We won the primary because of you, with people power, and we are going to win the general election in November the exact same way.
This comes one day after Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown confirmed he is running as a write-in candidate seeking a fifth term.
We are going to fight for democracy in the city of Buffalo. The voters have said that they don't want an unqualified, inexperienced, radical socialist trying to learn on the job, on the backs of the residents of this community.
My policies echo those of people like FDR and MLK. That prioritize working class and poor people, women and people of color, and to some people, that is scary.
Walton called the write-in campaign a distraction, saying it's dragging the city into the dark side of politics. Her supporters at the rally say their campaign efforts are far from over, despite the primary win.
We're going to continue with what we've been doing, reaching out to different people in the community, reaching out to community leaders, talking to folks. And when we talk to folks, they decide that India is the right choice. 3 out of 5 people change their minds when we actually get into conversations.
I believe that it's time for change. It's time to hand that baton over. 16 years has been enough time to be able to leave a legacy. And so I think that his legacy has been done, and now it's time to hand it over to India.
Perfect, huh? Yes, sir. No doubt, brother. Enjoy.
Welcome to Nickel City Chronicles.
Collaborating with the NerdBoyz Podcast. It's your boy, NerdBoyD. We're back. My man Neil Senlak. And we are collaborating once again. We are here in an undisclosed location. We don't want to get sued. Once we get permission, we'll say the name. But we're just smoking some good cigars, sipping some good bourbon, and we're about to we're gonna shoot the shit today.
So tell everybody where we just came from. Where we just were at.
We were just at a rally for our mayor. I don't know if I should call her mayor-elect yet, because I know the general.
That's a correct term.
That's the correct term. So our mayor-elect, India Walton. I know India. I wouldn't say I know her on a very personal level, but I know her personally, and I believe that she can be someone that changes the game. Like, her winning is a game changer. And Byron Brown, he started his write-in campaign, so he's butthurt that he lost.
It gets even deeper than that. Like, a friend of ours just said that it's like seeing, what was the term you said about the rats?
Rats on the sinking ship. Was it rats on the sinking ship? I think it was.
Oh, I just don't worry.
I'll just say this.
We got our guest Ramesh.
Basically, there are pompous rats on a sinking ship, sinking with Brown.
And it's so funny because that analogy is good, because we saw what happened in the 2020 election.
Yeah.
Where Trump loses and he starts this whole entire thing about it. It was rigged.
It was rigged.
And now you're seeing Byron Brown kind of echoing that mentality. Instead of congratulating India, congratulations, you just won. I just had a nice 30-year run, or whatever, however long he was in it.
Yeah, 16 years.
20 years. Yeah, I was exaggerating. But instead of being like, congratulations, you won.
And what's so funny, though, is just like, Byron Brown didn't really start campaigning until the end. I think that's when he started seeing India as a threat. And by that time, it's just like she started getting her message across.
Did he even campaign at all? I didn't see nothing.
I think he might have campaigned the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I think
barely.
It was. Barely campaigned because.
That's how cocky he was.
Yeah, because he didn't see it coming.
No way.
We
did.
Yeah,
we did.
And I mean,
you would talk to her. We knew.
Yeah, check out my podcast. It's on Spotify, NerdBoyz Podcast. I have a sit down with India from back in March when I sat down with her, and
good talk too. I listened to that whole thing. Very good talk.
And she's a real person. Like, she's from the street. She's from the like, her story is so relatable.
Right.
She became a mom at 14, I could relate because my mom became a mom at 15.
Yeah.
And she had me at 19. So my mom, Cariol Horne, shout out to my mom. But it's so many people that could relate to her story,
Right.
which makes her a relatable candidate.
And you know what's crazy is that she had to sit down with you for what, an hour and a half?
About an hour.
She didn't need a teleprompter. She didn't need notes. She didn't need anyone helping her out. She just sat down and gave her story and gave her she told what her plan was off the top of her head, because that's how you know when someone's real and from the heart.
Yeah.
They don't need any teleprompter, nothing. They just come and
shoot
sit down and tell you what their plan is.
Shooting from the hip.
That's very rare in politics.
Yeah, and one thing about her too that I respected is that she didn't even speak ill of the mayor on my podcast. That episode I did with her, she didn't even speak ill of it. And I have a personal I might be biased because what my mom went through with the city with her losing her job for doing the right thing. Of course she's pension eligible now.
Right.
And on top of that, she has her 20 years.
Right.
So, what's the word? Vindicated was the word that they
Vindicated.
used.
That's a good word.
So,
just in case anyone doesn't know about your mom, most people do, but just in case anyone knows about your mom, what happened with that?
So November 1st, 2006, it was a, officer in trouble type of call. And when my mom got there, it was like pretty much a chaotic scene. It got to a point where Neil Mack was being arrested. And they had him in the driveway, and the officer, Gregory Kwiatkowski, started choking him. My mom says, "Greg, you're choking him." And when she puts her hand on his arm to try to get the chokehold off, he punched her in the face. That led to her firing. And
so she saved his life.
She saved his life.
That could have been another George Floyd.
George Floyd, Eric Gardner, it would have happened in 2006. And this is before camera phones really started becoming as prominent as they are now. So there was nobody out to record it, nothing like that. So it was just had it been, it might have been a different story back then. But, now, George Floyd, and this is why the George Floyd situation is so deep for me personally, because that led to my mom's story being, looked at again.
Yeah.
I have friends messaging me on Facebook like, "Yo, the Breakfast Club is trying to get in touch with your mom."
Former Buffalo police officer who back in the day she stopped a fellow cop's chokehold on a suspect.
Correct.
Which they terminated you for, right? Am I explaining that correctly?
Well, he doesn't like to be called a suspect. His name is Neil Mack. All of his charges were dropped.
I'm sorry, Neil. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But they fired you for that.
Yeah.
For doing the right thing.
He was saying he couldn't breathe, right? And you actually stepped in and physically.
In 2006, he said he couldn't breathe.
And what? I want to revisit though back then, because what we're seeing right now while we're watching this Derek Chauvin case, right, and what's happening with him is how many people that were witnesses wish they could have intervened or done something to stop Derek Chauvin from killing George Floyd. And you actually did intervene. So can you tell us what was going on in your mind at that time?
There was a man named Mark Virginia who was killed by the Buffalo police. And that's what I thought of when I saw him choking Neil Mack. I thought of Mark Virginia, where there were other officers there and nobody stopped the chokehold to save his life. So that's actually what I thought of. And so, I yelled to him, "Greg, you're choking him." And then when he didn't stop, that's when I decided to step in, grab his arm. And that's all I did was grab his arm from around his neck. But then by the time they finished with the story, he said I did a whole
It doesn't matter. You're a hero.
That's right.
Okay, you
Absolutely.
did exactly
Right.
what we would want any police officer to do in that situation.
Right. She went on there.
Yeah, then she went on not even a week later, she went on the Breakfast Club, and
That's at 2 million views right now.
wow.
Something like that.
Wow.
I could be off, but I know it's up there though.
Yeah, it's up there, definitely up there. But it's just now, seeing my mom on CNN, seeing her on all kinds of different news channels, like talking to Don Lemon.
Lemon, yep.
Gayle King personally called her.
Yeah.
It's
That's
crazy.
It's a huge win, right?
Even with India. I don't know if you know this or not, but Bernie Sanders personally called India.
Tweeted her.
No, he personally called her.
He called her.
He personally called her.
Did both.
And that's huge. Bernie Sanders is endorsing India Walton because what Bernie, this is why, this is such a game changer, because you have people like Bernie Sanders who is for the people.
Right.
politics to get the way politics is so
he stood
dirty.
behind MLK when he was there.
Yeah.
For MLK.
Like Bernie Sanders is he got receipts.
Yeah.
So, you know, and for people not to want somebody like that in office is crazy because he's for the people. And this lets you know just how dirty politics are. Politics, I should say, because, you know, it's to a point where it's almost like they want to keep the same people in these positions, which, again, brings me back to the whole concept of term limits, because if we had term limits, we want to have some of these people in here for 40 plus years that's still thinking with that 1975 mentality.
Yeah.
So,
and it's crazy because the echoes, the parallels between what happened with Bernie Sanders and the Democratic Party in the primaries. Now we're seeing here in Buffalo with the Democrat Party with Byron Brown trying to smother India if she just fair and square, which won the primary, right. And he still wants to win.
Yeah.
So we're seeing it's like an echo, like it happens.
Now,
what it does is it reveals it rips apart the veil of like the difference between right and left when it comes to elite politicians, not just because like there's two different types of Democrats. There's the Democrat Party, which is like the establishment Democrat Party. They're like corporatists.
Yeah.
They just want to, like, you know, they'll say all the right things to get the votes.
Yeah.
But then they do the opposite. Then there's the Bernie Sanders types that actually really want to.
Was it the socialists they call them?
They call them democratic socialists, and people are scared of that S word, but it's really not that bad.
And it's like, you look at it's for the people, by the people.
Yeah. So people hear that word, the S word, socialist, and they're like, oh my God, I think of the USSR right away. But you got to realize this is America. This is a constitutional republic.
Yeah.
We're operating within that system. So when you say democratic socialism, what that means is retirement plans, so Medicaid, Medicare, people who need help, the people who have medical conditions can get access to whatever. That's what that means. That's all it is.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean we're trying to take the market away.
Right.
It doesn't mean we're trying to steal businesses. And
the market is the one that's fucking us, because you think of pharmaceutical companies. You think they got all these other countries that have universal health care. Why don't we have universal health care?
Yeah.
Like,
or
why?
At least some form of it. At least have like a basic needs met. Like I can see how, because there's the argument when people are like, okay, if we have universal health care, then our doctors won't be as, the quality over quantity won't be there. Okay, you can make that argument. I've taken classes on economics. I understand that argument. However, basic needs, talking about like just basic health care should be across the board for everybody. That's not that hard to understand. People think when you say universal health care, that means everyone should just be allowed to get plastic surgery and do whatever they want we'll just go bankrupt with medical bills. That's not what that means at all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like if it's gonna be like that, like, you know, your checkup, you shouldn't have no co-pays or nothing like that, you know. If you need a major neck surgery, that's a different story, but
and it's a sign of a good, strong economy if everybody's basic needs are met.
Yeah.
It's not a sign of a totalitarian state whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? And that's their argument. It's like, oh, if we have universal health care, then the government will control all the health care, and it's No, it's not.
So, you know, like, you know, we think of a slave's mentality. You think of only necessarily black people. It's not that. It's like we all are subjected to a slave mentality because of how we're taught.
Yeah.
Like it makes no sense you go to a good school to get a degree, and you start out, you know, $100,000 in fucking student loan debt. Shit, that's affecting your credit is fucked from the time you graduate school. We're taught to go to school to get a good job. It's like this is why I love the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
That's a great book, by the way.
Yeah, great, very great book, because the guy pretty much, he had one of his friends' dad was like his rich dad. His actual father was like poor, educated, had all these degrees, but struggled his whole life financially.
Yeah.
Versus the rich dad who wasn't as educated, but just, you know, grinded out, started his own businesses, made millions of dollars, and it's just like, you know, you kind of think about it. It's like look at most of the people right now. Look at Jay-Z. Jay-Z doesn't have a college degree. I don't even think Jay-Z finished high school. Look at Eminem.
Bill Gates didn't finish college.
Yeah, exactly. He's the richest man in the world, one of the richest. And you know, we're taught to go to school, get good grades, to get into a good college.
Climb the corporate ladder.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's just like, the fuck? I really feel like, India is a game changer because if it happens here, it's going to start happening everywhere else.
Yeah.
And this is where it's starting to get scary at, because scary not for us. For us, this is great.
Yeah, no, it's, the power, India in a nutshell is power to the people. That's an India Walton in a nutshell. Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Carl Paladino is getting involved in the Buffalo's election, and he's supporting Byron Brown now. Now, if you would have asked Carl Paladino a year ago what he thought about Byron Brown, he would have said all the dirt talking he can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Democrat. Oh, he's a Democrat. But now all of a sudden, Byron Brown is closer to him politically speaking than India Walton is. So now he wants to defend him and get him back in office and hopefully start this new writing campaign where if you write Byron Brown's name down, he can win. And it's so funny. It makes me laugh because
his comical is like,
because it's literally showing you that the whole entire political game on top is bullshit.
Right.
They're all about power. It's not about Democrat, Republican. It's all about elitism, people in power staying there.
It's like they're all in bed together.
Yes.
I bet like Joe Biden, I've heard before that he's a closet racist.
I don't even think he's a closet racist. He said you can see the stuff he said. Like, this is like 2 years ago or a year ago. He said, I think what do you say? Rich kids, or what do you say again? Something about rich kids, black kids should be just like
poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
White kids or something like that. He said something stupid like that.
Yeah, like I don't trust none of these motherfuckers no more. Like the Democratic Party as a whole is just like evil.
And when we talk about the Democrat Party, we're talking about like the centrist.
It's like
center left. Biden, like the other day, for example, Biden just bombed Iraq and Syria.
Yeah, you were telling me.
Both of them. Iraq and Syria.
I didn't even know until you told me.
Both got bombed 2 days ago. I literally can't find barely anyone talking about it, except for a few in media. So New York Times did a piece on it. We're bombing countries still.
Yeah.
And people are just like, hey, whatever. Oh, big deal.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier, we said, if Donald Trump did that, because like Donald Trump, like I was saying, Donald Trump makes everything a fucking spectacle.
Right.
So with Donald Trump, it gets that much more attention. For one, it's Donald Trump. He knows how to bring, he's a very charismatic person, so he knows how to bring, the people to him. He knows how to make we could spill this cup of bourbon and let Donald Trump spill it because he spilled it. It's front page media.
Right.
Because it's him. Because he knows how to, he knows how to make a story.
The point is, if this happened under his presidency, Trump bombed Syria, Trump bombed Iraq. Oh my God. Oh, did you see what he's doing? He's a fascist, blah, blah, blah. And hear me out on this before you call me like a Trump fan or not. That's good. That's outrage. Should be happening.
Yeah.
People should be mad about us bombing countries just for the heck of it, just because we felt like it. Like, what was the reason why we bombed Iraq and Syria the other day? Does anyone even know? I don't know. Do you know?
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
I didn't even know until you told me about it.
Even the media was like, huh? Why did Biden just do this? Well, we know. We kind of know why. Iran is really the reason why. That's a whole nother story for another day. We'll get into that another time. But the point I'm trying to make is that outrage that people had against Trump, why did it stop against Biden? Because he has a D in front of his name? I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
We live in a mad world right now. It's just like you said, you said two Democratic parties. Like it's like with Black Lives Matter. It's two Black Lives Matter in my opinion, because you got the people that are actually for it, live it, and want to see some real change within the black community. And then you got those that are for profit. So those people that say Black Lives Matter is for profit, you're absolutely right. But don't forget, there's the other people that support it, that live it. Like I'm Black Lives Matter all day. And before people be like, oh, well, all lives matter. No, because if you say all lives matter, and you say you one of those people that say, "Oh, I don't see color," you're part of the problem because if you don't see color, you don't see the issues.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah. So it's like you can't say all lives matter, but then say like if somebody got shot by the police that had the same skin color as me, you can't say, oh, because they didn't comply. That like no, compliance to me is, if you do they tell you to do something, okay, you do it, okay, you're complying. But the minute that you feel like your life is in danger and you don't trust the situation, and they can say, oh, you're not compliant, like that's bullshit. Because George Floyd was killed because somebody said that he had a fake $20 bill. So a fake $20 bill got this man, dead. He's not here with us anymore.
Which is insane.
And you could say anything about his past. You could say he was a drug addict. You could say he was this and that. Like, nobody deserved to go out like that.
And you know what's crazy to me is like a lot of these critics of the George Floyd situation and are far right Christian conservatives.
Right.
And if you're a Christian, you're supposed to believe in redemption and
exactly
and forgiveness, and people have another chance in life. Not just he's a criminal, he should die. Whatever happened to the parable? Whatever happened to the parable of the lady who was about to get stoned to death, and Jesus stepped in and said, "Whoever has no sin can." If you sitting there, if you're one of the people posting about George Floyd having opiates in his system, are you perfect? Were you once a heroin addict that got saved by Jesus? That's hypocrite right there.
I seen some bullshit.
And the reason why I said that, the reason why I just got mad right there and got close to the camera, because I personally know somebody who used to be a heroin addict, and now he's a Christian, and that's good. He got his life together. But this person had the audacity to post a thing about George Floyd having opiates in his system, and then he wrote, "The facts matter." I go, really?
Bullshit
and I commented on this. He blocked me for this. I commented on this. I go, really? Coming from the person that used to be a heroin addict, and you call yourself a Christian, and you're posting this right now?
Right.
Like, you really think that's... And he blocked me right away.
And I'm looking for something that somebody...
I'm proud to be blocked for that shit right there.
I'm looking for something. I'm on Facebook right now, and I'm looking for something that I seen the other day that somebody had posted. And this is somebody I know that, he posted a lot of stupid shit. Like, it was something that's happened in Rochester. It was like a Black Lives Matter march that happened in Rochester. I guess they were planning on marching onto the expressway. He well, run them all over. Like, who the fuck are you to tell? Like,
crazy thing to say. What a crazy thing to say. Run them all over. What is wrong with you? People actually think that way too. We live in a world. People, and what blows my mind the most. January 6th. Remember what happened on January 6th?
Yep.
Who were the people that rushed the Capitol? Far right-wing Christian conservatives. The same people that were crying about these rallies, these Black Lives Matter rallies in Portland and D.C. And, oh my God, these are terrorists. Black Lives Matter should be a terrorist organization. That's what they were saying. Remember Antifa?
Yeah.
Antifa's now a terrorist organization, and they were all cheering for that. The same people that claimed and backed that up were the ones rushing the Capitol and saying, oh, we're just patriots trying to defend our country. If you're a patriot trying to defend your country, how is that any different from someone in Syria and Iraq defending their country from invasions from the West? Think about that. So for one person, it's a terrorist. For the other person, it's a patriot. But they're really the same exact thing.
Exactly. And this is something I just seen on somebody's Facebook page a few days ago. And it said, I'm sick of people saying cops need more training. You had 18 years to train your child not to steal, shoot, stab, burn down buildings, laser people's eyes, flip cars, block traffic, and attack other people. The police didn't fail you. You failed your child. And that's the most stupidest shit I ever heard in my fucking life.
Extremely ignorant. Yeah.
Extremely ignorant, extremely stupid, because at the end of the day, my mom was a good mom. Great mom. My dad, great dad. My mom was a cop, as you know. My dad worked Department of Corrections. And my whole thing, both of my parents were in law enforcement. But I did my stupid shit. Sometimes the streets appeal to people. And one cop said it one time. Well, I got into some shit, and a cop said it one time, the worst kids are cops' kids.
Right.
So you can't sit up there and say, like, oh, you failed your child if they decide to shoplift. Fucking Byron Brown Jr. shoplifted.
And got a DWI.
and fucking crashed the fucking car. This is the mayor of Buffalo. But that shit out there that's not put out there all the time. No, they clean that shit up.
Right.
It's so much shit that kid did, but nobody says anything about it.
And that's what we're getting at. The whole point of this whole conversation, we're looking at these double standards, is how is it one side can get away with things, but the other side has to be held accountable, even labeled terrorist or, whatever. Like, the double standards are real if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely real.
So
and it's some bullshit. It's like people are people. Human nature is human nature. Right. You can have like you hear stories. Look at Harvey Weinstein. Look at Harvey Weinstein.
What about him?
Rich,
yes,
powerful,
very powerful.
Even when I see the Epstein didn't kill herself, whether Epstein killed herself or not, he still was a fucking serial fucking rapist.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is just the fact that people still go around saying, "Oh, Epstein didn't kill himself." The thing is, he probably was about to expose a lot of shit. From you got Democrats and Republicans, you got some of the most powerful people that you hear all this weird shit about. And the thing about it is that they're rich. Right. These people are raising kids that are doing some of the same shit that they're doing, and it's like you want to say that it's the parents' fault. Like sometimes it's just
society or just the person. Everyone has an ideology based on their worldview, based on how they were growing up, based on the friends they have, the society they grew up in. So you can't just blame one thing and say that's the problem.
Like Michael Jackson.
It's always going to be a plethora of reasons why certain people do certain things.
Yeah.
It's never just one thing.
And Michael Jackson's bad. That whole that concept of that video was based on a kid that went to a private school. He was from the hood or whatever. And he eventually came back to his hood, and they were kind of jealous of this kid and killed him.
Right.
So it's like sometime, and it's just like with politics. Byron Brown is so mad right now that he didn't take India seriously. And yeah, granted, like maybe about 20,000, a little over 20,000 people voted in these primaries, which, had he campaigned, he may have gotten more people to come out and vote for him. He can't sit up there.
Maybe not, though.
Maybe not. So maybe it would have been more like, you never know.
You know what I was thinking about? If you would have did a podcast with Byron Brown instead of India Walton, how do you think that would have went? He would have pulled up with all these. You would have to sign a waiver
and shit
saying,
like that.
"Oh,
I sat down with
want
India.
to cut something out. We can cut it out."
Let me tell you with India.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got there. She sat down. We were in her office. She sat down, kicked her shoes off, and just was relaxed. One thing she said that is like she likes this environment because she just could be relaxed and more herself. And that's when I do podcasts with people, like when I did the podcast with Miles Carter, it was just like be relaxed, like be yourself.
Right now.
Yeah, like we're sipping bourbon and smoking cigars right now.
That's why this is authentic and real. We're not. There's no teleprompter in front of us. No one's paying us to say this. This is coming from the heart. This is what we believe.
And just like with Kim Beatty, Miles Carter. One thing about him is because he said he didn't. I love Miles. I love Miles too, and it was just like the fact that he doesn't have law enforcement experience and shit like that. Maybe that's the solution. He doesn't have the law enforcement experience. Maybe that's more of a solution than the problem because the simple fact is
I said the same thing, bro.
And the thing is, he might not have the experience of law enforcement, but he has the experience of being a decent human being. Right. And that should be what matters.
You know what's crazy? It's like he's trying to be the sheriff and run a jail. Police experience, if you look at police experience in the last 50 years, what does that show you? It shows a lot of problems going on. And I know there's great cops. I'm one of the people that actually will say that most cops are good. I will say that. You might disagree with me, and that's fine. I think most cops are good. However, the amount of cops that go around doing bad things is so tremendous, has such a big impact that it just covers over the good cops.
See, you gotta have 100 good cops.
Just two of them could spoil the whole bunch. Yeah. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch.
Yeah, so you could really have 100 cops, 90 of them great guys, good guys, and 10 of them are pieces of shit. And normally those 10 are probably people that have so many connections within like the political arenas. You got the mayor, you have like the commissioners.
Yeah.
You got
the point I was making though is that for you to think that police experience is what we need for a sheriff to run a county jail is like saying we need a murderer to run a hospital. Like seriously, that's what it is. Like that's not what you should be looking at. You should be looking at his ideas and his policy and what he wants to do and his plans.
Right.
That's what. And if you actually look at Miles Carter, had good plans. He wanted to make sure that people who were in jail got taken care of and were not killing themselves because Erie County is one of the highest rates of suicide in the world, not just the country. In the world.
And who's to say some of these suicides wasn't murders?
Right. And a lot of them are.
That's a conspiracy theorist to me.
No, it's not. It's not because we know. We have it on camera of someone getting murdered in Erie County Holding Center. So it's not a conspiracy theory. That's actually a factual statement.
Yeah. And you know what? Like Sandra Bland. Sandra Bland's mom, Geneva Reed, she was in town a couple of weeks ago. She actually was in town a few times. And, I watched Sandra Bland. I actually sat there and watched the video of her getting arrested, and she should have not been arrested. She should have just been, if anything, she should have been ticketed.
99.9% of arrests in general should not be arrested. People are going to think I'm crazy for saying this. Hear me out, though. Let me say this real quick.
Oh, go ahead, brother.
Put my cigarette down for this. Cigar down. Dungeons, okay? Dungeons were the first form of jail. Back in the day, in the Middle Ages, you had to be deemed undesirable from society to go to jail, to go to a dungeon. You had to be a murderer or a rapist or somebody that was so dangerous they had to be taken out of society. Now, in 2021, people think it's all progressive and good, everything's fine and dandy. Now you can go to jail for just having something in your pocket that changes the way you feel, because you have mental health issues. And the thing that in your pocket makes you feel normal, and you're gonna get it because that's natural. When you have mental health issues, it's natural for you to go find something to make you feel normal. Now you can go to jail for that now. People are gonna look back and say this is insanity. People are going to jail for possession, which is 9/10 of the law. Okay, so when I said that, most people are in jail right now for some petty bullshit. A bag of whatever. I don't care what it is. I don't care how bad of a drug it is. So take the drug off them, give them a ticket. Maybe if it's really bad, maybe they should go to rehab. I don't know. But jail is not something we should just be throwing people into like a market.
So back to the whole murder, the whole murder thing. Like, okay, so I watched the documentary. I had to just look it up to see to get the name. It was a Sandra Bland documentary. Say her name. It's on Netflix, right? It should still be on Netflix right now if you want to check it out. But one thing that kind of stood out to me was they never had footage. They say she hung herself with a garbage bag. They showed the way this garbage bag was tied. It was tied so fucking neat. Sandra Bland was 6 foot tall, 175 pounds. A 6 foot woman at 175 pounds. This garbage bag it's gonna be some type of crinkled up and shit like that. It's not gonna look neat and perfect.
It's gonna be stretched out,
something like that. And she was a tall woman, so like it just didn't sit right with it. It's just like.
Or what about the people they show who supposedly killed themselves in jail, who have like black eyes and lumps on their faces, like they literally got stomped to death, and they show the picture of the person. And it's like, oh, they hung themselves? Wait, why do they have a black eye? Or why is their nose bent? Why is there a lump on their face?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is crazy. A lot, especially in Erie County.
But this perfect little noose was tied. The garbage bag didn't look like it was disturbed or nothing like that. And my whole thing, why is it still hanging? If she really hung herself, wouldn't I have cut it down and then took it off her neck? Why is it still hanging up? It didn't make sense to me. Like, this just me just kind of thinking with common sense here. So if she hung herself, that bag would have been kind of scrunched up, and it would have been like, I want to test this theory out one day.
You know what's crazy though? I can't help but thinking about the whole John McAfee situation that happened. I'm gonna switch it up gears now. Switch up the topic just for 1 second.
He just died, right?
Yeah. So John McAfee started tweeting. He's a billionaire. who's in prison for some, I don't know, all types of shit, right? He's just he was a reckless dude, right? Let's put it that way. Well, he started tweeting from prison that if I kill myself, it's not me. Someone did it for me. He kept saying like, I didn't do it. If I die, I didn't do it. He even got a tattoo on his arm that said whacked. Now here's the thing. He overdid that. Now all of a sudden, now you're suspicious. Now I'm looking at you, you're like, why do you want people to think that you... Because he committed suicide, and it almost looks like he did do it. Because the way he was, the way he was like shouting about, I'm not gonna kill myself. It's suicidal right there.
Yeah.
So there's a classic situation of somebody who tried to make himself a martyr because he was suicidal. And if you think that's impossible, just think about it. Think about it. A billionaire goes to prison, and then he tweets out, because I guess in Spain you can tweet. I guess they have iPads in there or something.
Yeah.
He's tweeting, "Oh, the food's great. I have lots of friends in here." Yeah, right. You don't get along with people in there. You're a billionaire, and you know the damn well the food's. When he said the food's not good, I knew he was lying right away.
Yeah.
So I think he killed himself.
Yeah, it could definitely.
But then you got these situations where people who are clearly and have no intention to kill themselves, and they're just getting in trouble by COs, and they get beat up a little too much, according to the cops. Yeah. And they got suicided. That happens too.
And then one thing about the jails, it's so much control because an inmate could get his or her ass whooped, and the cops, it's not like on the street where somebody could just record them getting beat. Right. So it's always gonna be a his word versus our word, or her word versus our word. Like a friend of mine, Ariel Clark, rest in peace, Ariel. He died in the prison. He died in the jail in Ohio. So the one thing with that was the simple fact that his wife put up a post one day, and he was like very combative with the jail officials. Me knowing him, he's not going to be combative. He's not going to be combative unless somebody's trying to really like fuck with him. He was the type of person where, he was pro-black, he was all about black people. But, hearing about him getting tased while in a restraint chair, having to sit in his own piss and shit, it's like, that's inhuman right there. Yeah. That's not, that's treating somebody like a fucking animal. Right. And the simple fact that, you got people out here like that in law enforcement.
Right.
You really have people in these jobs that are being paid money. They're working towards a pension, and they're treating people like shit. That's a huge fucking problem.
And they're going around looking for people to arrest based on petty bullshit.
Petty shit.
Like if you're
George Floyd,
like I personally know cops. Joe McGovern was one of them. He's an Atlanta PD officer who go around and they can back it up. They got like Joe McGovern, for example. He saved somebody from jumping off a ledge that was going to commit suicide. There's a video of him saving someone's life. He has that under his belt. He's a saint. He's the perfect person to be a cop because he wakes up every morning. I'm speaking for you, Joe, but I know you're going to agree with this. He wakes up in the morning and thinks about what can I do to make this world a better place. He's that type of person. People like that need to be cops, and that's great. But you got other cops that are wake up in the morning like, oh, these fucking criminals, I'm gonna get them all. I'm gonna get them all off the street. If that's the mentality you have, you're just a recipe for chaos. You are a servant of chaos.
So you have people too that might have went through some bullying as kids. I worked as a substitute, and I was talking to a kid who wanted to join the SWAT team, but this kid wanted to join the SWAT team. The thing that this kid said that disturbed me about that was the fact that this kid said that they wanted to like busting, like how during raids, they bust in the house or whatever. This kid wanted to throw ninja stars at people. Ninja stars. That's crazy. He was like, I don't want to kill him. Yeah. I just want to hurt him. Yeah. And it disturbed the fuck out of me because this is a kid. This kid was like in 6th, 7th grade, and it disturbed me to the point where just like, this is a child thinking like this. So, it does start at home. But, you know, once your kids get to a certain age, it's like sometimes you just gotta pray on it. Like I have 3. I have a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, and I have a 10-year-old. And my son is 14, so, you know, he's at that age now to where it's going to be a lot of pressures of life that's going, you know, push him in different types of directions. Even my daughter, she's 13, and it's like they can go either way. You know, me as a father, you know, I could be there and do everything in the world, but sometimes that decision is ultimately up to them. Like, I tried my little street shit when I was a teenager in high school and shit.
We all did that.
We all did. And you know, and I had a solid foundation. I had solid parents who loved me, who gave me whatever I needed. But it's just, you know, sometimes you seek these thrills of these streets.
That's what happens.
And it's like sometimes your parents have absolutely nothing to do with it.
Right.
It's just a simple fact that sometimes, you know, you live a straight and narrow life when you got a good life, and then you see something that's like thrilling. You see something that these other kids are doing. These other kids that do come from broken homes. These other kids that maybe don't have that support system that you have, and then you see that shit is cool,
right?
And then you go to that level. So like back to that post I saw when he was like, "Oh, you know, you failed your kid." Like no. Sometimes your kid failed themselves because the simple fact is, they chose a different lifestyle. Yeah. No matter how much you put food on the table, no matter how much clothes you put on their back, sometimes when they see that thrill, of, you know, the streets or some type of lifestyle, even with rich kids, you got rich kids that steal cars, breaking people's houses just because they're bored. Yeah, and it's like you get rich people who it's like they could do anything they want because they have the money, and they get bored, so they start doing all kinds of weird shit.
That's what happens.
All these weird fucking stories you see with people that have money, are billionaires, millionaires, famous, rich, all this bullshit. And it's like okay, so one good example of this is Bow Wow and Soulja Boy. They had the versus battle over the weekend. And one thing Soulja Boy said, and Bow Wow, I always felt Bow Wow was a fucking cornball. But the one thing I will say that made me gain some respect for Bow Wow, Soulja Boy was playing all these clips. I guess he was like, you know, talking shit about Bow Wow, talking about why Bow Wow was in these private schools. I was out in these streets. I was shooting people. I was robbing people. Like I was selling drugs and all this shit. So no, Soulja Boy said this. He was saying this to Bow Wow. Yeah. And he was saying why Bow Wow was in private schools and all that stuff. And Bow Wow came at him. He was like, killed him with this one line. Bow Wow was like, well, while he was out there doing all that bullshit, I was 13 years old with a #1 hit. I got him. I respect the hell out of that because it's like, dude,
so true.
You think
that is so cool.
That's so cool, so impressive that you was out on these streets selling drugs, like.
And you're literally leading people because people are gonna follow that. People are gonna be like, oh, he's rich and famous, so if he's saying to do it, I should do it.
But when Bow Wow was like, while you was out there doing all that bullshit, I was 13 years old with a #1 hit.
Perfect.
And I'm like, yo, that is the clapback of the motherfucking century right there. That is a fucking clapback.
That's true.
Because it's like you have people out here that brag about shit that they had. True. Like I know people that had money. I know people that was in the streets that had money, all this shit. And it's just like, you know, that's cool. Yeah. You know, there people in the streets that, you know, that's cool. But at the end of the day, what do you have to show for it? Like if you was out here hustling, making money and shit, okay, are you like Nipsey Hussle? I respect Nipsey Hussle so much because Nipsey was making money. He was hustling and shit like that. Once he got his money up, he bought the strip mall where he used to hustle in front of and started giving people jobs. Like people that had criminal records and shit like that. He started bringing jobs to him and shit, like bringing jobs to the neighborhood, opening up his stores and shit. So it's like, I could respect a brother like that because, you know, and it's a damn shame he's no longer with us, but, you know, we need more people like Nipsey Hussle because, you know, as a black man, you know, he's trying to uplift his community, and you got other people out here that trying to uplift the community, and it's just like people hate on that shit because it's like we got such a fucked up mentality about it. Like, oh, we gotta, like, and this is one thing about my black people. It's like it's always like a popularity contest. And it's just like, you know what? And we have some very knowledgeable black men and women out here. And I just wish that we could get it together so we could really, and you know, Neil's a white man sitting next to me right now, but we could be up here, you know, have more black billionaires, have more black millionaires, business owners, all that shit. But it's just like, I just ask that my people, we get our shit together because we could do it. We dangerous. And that's the thing with
that's coming. It's all coming. It's all inevitable because you see the directions, you see the tides turning right now.
Yeah, and then you see like with Byron Brown in India. Byron Brown to me has always been a white man in a black man's body. India is straight from the hood. India is straight gutter.
You really thought that?
Yeah, Byron Brown is. True. And the crazy thing about it, that was the first person I ever voted for because I was 18 when he got elected in office. I just turned 34.
Who was the mayor before him again?
Mazziello.
Yeah, so that was, you had to vote for him, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just like, and then we, this is a democratic city right here, so, there hasn't been a Republican in the mayor's chair since like, I think 1965 was like the last time. Something like that. Yeah. So it's like, Byron Brown, for the moment, we felt like he was our Barack Obama.
Right.
The simple fact that we got a black man as a mayor.
And you know what though? He's not. We're kind of harping on him a little bit, but he's not that. It wasn't that bad. Like he did some good things. He made downtown beautiful. With the.
And I agree with that fully.
Yeah, he did some nice little rearrangements and made things nicer. But what he was really focused on was like, okay, I'm going to make it nice for people from the suburbs that come downtown to spend their money here, or for people out of city, tourists to come to Buffalo.
Which is fine.
He didn't really care about the outside neighborhoods like Central Park or
this is where
Fruit Belt or the Lower West Side, where there's really shootings every day and kids aren't getting good educations.
And I got to
this is what we're trying to get at.
I got to do this once an episode. And where he had us fucked up at is the fact that the people that voted him in, he kind of left our neighborhoods hanging. We need more summer programs. We need more after school programs for these black neighborhoods. We have so many programs out here that a lot of black people are not educated on. And Byron Brown failed us in that aspect because if we know about programs that we could start our own business, we could get grants and shit like that. It probably will be more people taking advantage of it, but there's no emphasis on it. There is no emphasis at all on it. And I feel like that's where Byron Brown failed the black people at because he didn't educate us or he didn't put it out there. And the thing is, if there's programs out there, get us fucking educated. I know you're a busy man as the mayor, now former mayor, but at the end of the day, I feel like he failed the people that kept him that got him in office and kept him in office.
I wanna make it a I want to say something real quick about that. So this is sort of a confession, right? I used to think that the solution to what you just said was we should have school choice, right? We should allow kids from Central Park and the Fruit Belt to choose to go to school in a nicer neighborhood if they would like to. I used to think that was a great idea. It is a good idea if you think about it. School choice. Go to whatever school you want to. Everyone should be able to go to any school they want to. However, it leaves one problem. You're neglecting the schools that need help.
Yeah.
So if you do school choice, Central Park schools, Fruit Belt schools, Lower West Side schools are just completely neglected, and those schools never get anything done.
Yeah.
Why not build up those schools and not? You wouldn't have to worry about school choice if every school was built up to where it should be.
Right.
School of excellence everywhere.
So that brings me back to the the conversation that has been going on for the past year, the defund the police thing. That conversation right there. Now, when they say defund the police, they're not saying take all the funding from the police, but take some of that funding. You got cars out. You got police cars out here right now that could read if your inspection sticker is fucking expired. Excuse me. You got police cars that could read if your inspection stickers expired. But you got books from like 2000 that's still in some of these schools.
I'm laughing, but it's not funny. But I'm just laughing because it's the way you said it. Like it's true though. It's like it's like dry humor because it's true, and it's like.
But it's hilarious because it's true because it's like
exactly.
You got people out here that's like when you say defund the police, people get so angry about that. But it's like we're not saying to fund the police just because we can't stand the police. But some people, they can't stand the police. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of the police, but I do have a lot of respect for a lot of officers that put on that uniform. You know, the ones that's trying to take care of their family and do the right thing by it. But my opinion about that came from seeing all the dirt that was done to people, especially people of color. And it's just like, the simple fact is, when people hear that shit, then they want to come with the Blue Lives Matter and all that. Like, you know, blue lives don't exist, so you can't say Blue Lives Matter if they don't exist. That would be a more logical argument if it was officers out here actually getting killed by radicals. That would be like more of a argument. But police officers aren't being killed; they're killing, and then they're making money. You got officers out here that's making upwards to $150,000 a year with overtime and everything like that. And, you know, those officers don't scare me. It's the officers that kind of are in the middle. Because I know an officer, a female type, that's black, who makes about $80,000 a year, which is pretty normal. That's pretty standard. But abuses the fuck out of her power. Like, I've had more bad experiences with black officers than I have white officers. And I haven't had really too many bad experiences. I could probably say upwards of 10, maybe, if that. Yeah. And more than half of those were probably black. Yeah. And this crazy thing about it, like, you know, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. People that know me know that I'm a pretty easygoing guy. And it's just a simple fact that, you know, I know people who are officers. Somebody was like a family member, and that person was horrible. The shit that I heard about this person doing absolutely changed my opinion on this person. And that person was a Buffalo police officer, retired, and I guess are out of town now. But that person had to move out of town because they would have had a target on their fucking back. Wow. And this is the person that I spent the night at their house, take care of me, like trips, Darien Lake and stuff like that. Wow. Person I looked like as family.
That's crazy.
And then finding out how horrible this person was to people, it's like, wow. Like, it's a shock.
It is a shock.
So, like, for people to say, oh, Blue Lives Matter, learn your officers. Like, community policing, I feel like.
That's what I'm saying. If you say Blue Lives Matter, fine. You support the police. So the police are great. They help people who are in need. But if you're saying Blue Lives Matter, that means you have to look at, who are these blue lives? Are they all doing the right thing? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's a good question. It's a good question to ask.
Like, I don't hate police. Even my mom, she will say she doesn't hate the police. She supports the police. I support the police too, but I don't support the bad ones. I don't support the ones. If I personally know somebody that's a cop and they out here doing all the wrong shit, I can't respect that person. I can respect the person that's going to do the job. And then, you know, we got Cariol's law in the city of Buffalo now. It should be a state law at some point, which means it will be a national law at some point.
I think you and I are going to make that happen.
Yeah. We can make it happen. Let's do it.
We'll do it.
But, you know,
that's our plan for the next 5 years, is to make Cariol's law a state, New York State.
It's already been looked at. It's
national.
It's already been looked at as a state law. But the whole thing about it is the simple fact that people didn't support that. And I'm going to tell you something, and I hate to put this person on blast, but Deputy Police Commissioner Barbara Lark, I ran into her in Niagara Square a couple of weeks ago, and I had a petition for police accountability. She acted like it was a conflict of interest for her to sign a petition for police accountability.
That's a little weird.
It sounds a lot weird because...
Why is that?
You're a police. This is for police accountability.
Right.
How's it a conflict of interest about police accountability? You're the deputy police commissioner. So why is it not, you know, a priority for you to support police accountability? Right. Is that because you got skeletons in your closet?
Right. That's what that means, dude.
So it's like...
You just put two and two together right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you know, this is why, like, you know, we got a term in black cultures, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And you got black people that get in some of these high positions and they shit on the people that got them in there. Yeah. Which is what I can't stand. Like, you know, it's bad enough, you know, we have a lot of white Americans that are against us. You know, not my brother right here. My brother Neil's cool. He's one of the good ones, and I appreciate the hell out of him. And the thing is, I could say this and he's not offended at all, which shows me that he genuinely understands where I'm coming from. And that's another thing. I was talking to somebody earlier, and one thing that came up was like, you know, understanding. Like, if you, as a white person or as a black person, can't sit down with somebody opposite of you, like if you're a Democrat, why can't you sit down with a Republican and just chop it up and see how much I actually have in common? Because I might have more in common than you actually think.
You know how important it is what you just said? Mm-hmm. You know how important that is? Is like, I'll give you an example. Juwaria Dahir is a friend of mine who I had a podcast with. And she told me her story, how she came here from far away. And she had a long, long journey to here. Okay? And she experienced a lot of racism, a lot of people who just didn't understand where she's coming from, and they were trying, they meant well, but they had said some things to her. And the way she went about it was like, they don't know what they're ignorant to certain things, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up is like, when you have a conversation with someone who has politically opposite of you, you want to have that conversation because you can get to the truth. The truth will always prevail.
Yeah.
You want to talk to those people as much as possible, okay? The reason why I say that is because if we just censor people who we don't like, far right-wing people, QAnon people, whatever, Proud Boys, if we just censor them, what that will do is that will just cause them to be more sheltered and more alienated, and then they'll cause them to do more extreme shit.
Exactly.
Because they'll feel like they need to do something, and then it becomes us versus them. If you talk to those people and have a conversation with them, you might be able to educate them on something they don't know about.
Exactly.
I'm probably one of those people right now, sitting here next to him, having conversations with people, with my cousin who I've been talking to for years on Messenger, going back and forth politically on whatever. Climate change. We talk about it all. And he says things that make me I'll look into it, do the research. Oh, he's right about that. That's what I'm talking about. You can change people's minds by telling the truth and being honest and being real. Instead of trying to block them and censor them and shut them up. You can change people's minds. It's possible.
I'm going to tell you about that. I just had to look up his name, but Daryl Davis is a black man who actually has convinced over 200 members of the KKK.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, so it's just like
he is a fucking saint, because this is a black man who literally went out of his way to go and befriend, not alienate, not attack. He went out of his way to befriend the KKK. And you think why would he do that? Go ahead.
So like, and he still does it to this day.
To this day.
And it's like he gets a lot of shit, especially from black people, about, you know, him talking to him. But it's just like, this is the thing about it. We so angry. We are so angry, and I get that anger. I understand that anger. Trust me, I be pissed off about a lot of shit too. And you know, and I have mixed feelings about him doing this. But at the end of the day, he has the balls to do it. And you know, the fact that he had a conversation with some of these KKK members and convinced them to, you know, withdraw themselves from that association. And it's like, you know, we had more people that had that type of heart to just really think outside the box. And that's the thing about it. We be so boxed in because we're taught a certain way. So we think a certain way. So we're taught that, oh, they're the enemy. We don't need to talk to them. It's like high school cliques and shit like that. It's like when you got the cool kids that won't talk to the loser kids.
It doesn't do anything. There's no solution there. You're just creating more problems.
And when you talk to the cool kids and the loser kids, sometimes they might have a lot more in common than they might think.
And you know what's crazy about that is, like, let's say you do want to alienate them and censor them and block them and cut them off. Those people can get power one day, and then now we have a real problem because they remember what you did to them. Instead of like, okay, when you sit down and have a conversation with them, and give them your worldview and explain your worldview from your heart.
Yeah.
Now they remember that instead. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference between doing the us versus them mentality and then trying to get to the truth. Trying to get to the truth takes dialogue.
Yeah.
That's why I have a subtitle for this show. It's called Young American Dialogue. And the reason why I love those 3 words is because the future is for the young people.
Yeah.
We're in America, and dialogue is what's going to get to the truth. Exactly. Period.
And it's like when dialogue is important because, like I say, you won't know how much you have in common with somebody until you sit down and talk to them. And that's why, like I always say, like I would refer anybody to that interview with Snoop Dogg and The Undertaker.
Such a good one. It's so underrated because people think it's like a joke. Oh, Snoop Dogg and Undertaker, these wrestler and rapper. No, that is a socio-political conversation of the decade.
Exactly. And Undertaker said, like, you used to just sit down and have a conversation with somebody no matter what your differences was and shit. We sitting here sipping bourbon, and me and Neil, like, politically, we might be a little different at times. But at the same time, I could still sit down with this man and have some whiskey and smoke some cigars, and we could just be kicking it.
Right.
Like, we came up completely different, and we came up around the same area.
Right.
We grew up where he grew up at. I grew up right around the corner.
Right.
I grew up on Davidson and Janet. He grew up around Phyllis and Kay.
Yeah, that's my parents. Parents were living around Phyllis and
yeah.
What's the other street over?
And
from
I
there?
still live around that area.
Phyllis and
K Street.
No, the next one.
Like Martha.
Martha. My mom lives on Phyllis. My dad lives on Martha. So it's like we're from the same. You know what I'm saying? It's like 2 Italians talking to each other, but they're American, but they're both Italian.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they didn't grow up in Italy. You lived in that neighborhood.
Yeah,
I didn't. But it's like we're both from there. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. I lived there. Like I lived over in that area for about 10 years of my life. From the time I was 6 to the time I was 16.
Right.
And it was just like, and the crazy thing is, he knows that neighborhood. Like, when we first started talking, he dropped me off at home, and it was just like shit. He was like, my parents grew up in this area. I'm like, what? And then we was like, wow, like, and I think one thing with us is like we so open minded. And this is the thing I always tell people, like, keep an open mind because you never know how much you might have in common with somebody. You never know, like, what your interests might be. And it's just a simple fact that all it takes is a simple conversation to just sit down and really just talk to somebody, get to know them, and really just understand why they are the way they are. Like, right. I could tell you why black people, we done been enslaved, we done been segregated. So much shit done happened in our culture to us by, white people.
I know.
Segregation, civil rights movement, all that shit. That shit was for us to get our rights back and shit like that. Well, shit, I can't even say back because we didn't have them at that time anyway.
You had to get them to begin with.
Yeah, and it's just like, you got whites only fountains, whites only restaurants and shit like that. So it's just like, the simple fact is, and this is all barely 50 years ago.
Right. We're talking about the same century as right now. Like people look at ancient history and you think like, let's talk about like the 400 BC, right? Everybody lumps that whole entire century in as one event. People are going to look back at this century right now as one big thing. We think of the 1950s like it's so long ago, but it's really not.
My dad was born in the 50s.
It just happened. In the grand scheme of things, we're just coming off of like a different world and we're starting a new one.
And then you look at like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Like I said, I'm 34.
Yeah.
They were both 39 when they died. 39. Not even 40.
That's
they
crazy.
both were 39 years old.
That's crazy.
Fred Hampton.
I didn't even realize that.
If you've seen Judas and the Black Messiah, Fred Hampton, 21.
Yeah.
21.
That's deep.
He was actually about to go to jail.
Yeah.
He was so dangerous that jail wasn't enough for him. They needed him dead.
Right.
J. Edgar Hoover had something to do with that.
And it's like Malcolm X, MLK, like
yeah,
those type of mindsets. Certain people don't allow that.
Yeah, they don't want to see
that. They
don't allow that. It's too progressive.
Yeah.
Said Fred Hampton was 21. Malcolm X 39. Martin Luther King 39. Young men. Like I'm 34. I know, like my brother is 38.
Didn't even get a chance to retire and sit back and enjoy life.
Yeah,
they were caught up in the moment, and then life
the
taken from them like that, just like that.
That blew my mind when they did Martin Luther King's autopsy. Martin Luther King had his heart. He had the heart of a 60-year-old man at 39. That's how much work he was putting in. That's how much he was stressing out. That's how much he cared.
That's crazy.
And people take shit like that for granted now, because when we have people out here that's trying to fight the good fight, now you have a lot more white faces joining forces with black faces, and they still can't stand it. And it's like, but if you sat down and had a conversation with that person, you can understand, like somebody that shouts out Blue Lives Matter versus my Black Lives Matter, sit down and have that conversation with me to understand why I say Black Lives Matter. Because I done seen a lot of black people get killed. Tamir Rice, 12 years old. I have a 13 and 14-year-old children. I have 13 and 14-year-old children. And to me, that hits home, especially when my son turned 12, and it's just like, that could have been my son.
Right.
Like when you sitting up there and you really thinking about it, and I'm going to take the glasses off of that. When you have a child, and you think of somebody like Tamir Rice that was 12 years old, and do you have a 12-year-old son? That could be my son. That shit's going to fuck your head up for the simple fact that, like, that's a reality. That could still be my son at 14. He about to be 15 years old. And it's like the older he gets, it's like, I don't want to have to worry about him if he gets into some type of interaction with police.
And you know what's crazy?
You got to feel me on that one.
I grew up in the early 2000s, right? So I'm in the position where I'm seeing black people start moving into neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But I'm noticing this, right? The ones those are the ones that getting pulled over more than me. Why is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you notice those things.
Yeah.
But no one wants to talk about it. It's like this taboo thing. Oh, they did something wrong. They did something wrong with their family or something. But
couple summers ago.
The crazy thing about it is, like, there's two. It's almost like there's two different worldviews in the same location.
Yeah.
And that's not a sign of a good running society.
Yeah,
that's a sign of of an ill society that needs help.
So this black female officers I was telling you about. So a couple of summers ago, and like where I live at, like my apartment is like right on. I won't say it's like a main street, but it's like a main side street, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's like when a person, it's a stop sign. I done rode through that stop sign. Everybody done rode through that stop sign, but. Okay, so if a cop stops,
pointless stop signs that you just roll through.
Yeah,
yeah.
So
we all know what those
it's not necessarily pointless because it is another area where cars could come out. Yeah, so it is a stop sign there, so it won't cause no accidents.
Yeah.
But if it ain't no traffic there, people just easily roll through it.
Right.
Get pulled over. Okay, so I mean, by all means, that is a legit ticket if a cop wants to ticket you. But when that leads to your car getting searched, you getting taken out of your car, placed in the back of a police car, and the person that's doing it has the same skin color as you. Like, I would really love to have a conversation with this officer to see why are you like this? Were you bullied? There's something that like.
You know what's crazy is the reason why I said what I just said 2 seconds ago about the people moving in. I have two friends.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say their names right now. I don't care because they're probably okay with me saying their names. Joe McGavro, Matt McDougal, right? Both I grew up with, both black. We all went to a park one day. It was past dark. It was dark, okay? It was dark out. The rules said no one should be here past dusk. So we all knew we were breaking the rules.
Yeah.
Okay. Mind you this. There's about 10 white kids, 2 black kids. Cops roll up. Just take a guess. What happened? Let me see if you can guess what happened.
Let me guess. They stretched
They arrested the 2 black kids, yeah. Tell me how fucked up that is.
That's very fucked up.
There's 12 of us there. 2 kids black, 10 kids white. The 2. Okay, let me be real. 3 people got taken to the black car. One of them was white. 2 of them were black. The white kid just happened to be standing next to the 2 black kids when they took him with them just to look like, oh, we're not doing any racial profiling. We're just arresting.
Yeah.
No, he was standing next to them. That's what happened to him. It was my other boy, Joe. Or Mike Maritato. These are all my friends that I grew up with. But it just shows you how people's heads are at in this time. Like police, kids. We were kids. We were in high school.
Right.
This is no big deal. This is some kids hanging out at a park past dark.
Yeah.
Why should a kid be put in the back of a cop car for being in a location?
Yeah, my whole thing with that situation, if you ain't asking them to leave, at least take them home. If that's the case.
What I'm saying. What the right thing, if he really wanted to enforce the law, he should have said, "All you guys go home." That's it. We all would have listened. Everyone would have listened.
Yeah.
There's not one of us that would have said no.
Right.
But he took the extra route. Hey, you two over here, get in here, get in the car. I'm taking you guys home. It's like, what are you doing, dude? You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So exactly. Like, I had an incident too where, my car was in my mom's name at the time. I was like 21 maybe.
Yeah. 22.
And I was I had went to Primo Pizza over there on Chippewa. I had went in there to see it was a girl in there, I went to go say hi to her, and I was parked illegally, so it should have just stopped at the ticket.
That's what I'm saying. That's
they
all,
ran the plates.
That's all it has to be. Okay, you made a mistake. You parked in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
If it was anybody else, they would have said, "Oh, here's your ticket. Oh, just tell the judge that you made a mistake." But if it's because of a certain person, you got to go to jail now.
And then, like I said, this is after my mom.
That's fucked up.
This really is like in the midst when my mom was public enemy number 1 in the city of Buffalo. So my car was in my mom's name. It was registered to my mom. So me and a couple of friends that were with me, like, we were snatched out the car. And this is when Chippewa was like at its peak.
Yeah.
So mind you, it's hundreds of people out here.
Right.
So the simple fact is, I was parked illegally. He wrote me a ticket. He should have just gave me my ticket and left it at that.
That should have been it.
But after he radioed in and had me sit in my car, next thing I know, this big burly officer snatches me out the car, places me in the back of the police car. I'm being humiliated in front of hundreds of people.
And that's going to take an effect on your whole lifelong. Like that you get some, like, I don't want to say, like, what's the word for that? Like, traumatic.
Yeah.
It's traumatic. Dude.
And like I say,
I'm
a lot more open-minded. I might be more open-minded than some black people. Like, some of my people see that shit like that. And this shit is like done on the regular. So this is our source of anger. Like I say, I'm more, maybe because my mom was a cop and I grew up around cops. So I saw a lot of good people that wore badges and wore the uniform. So I have a very complex, view on the situation. But, I was livid that night. I was so pissed off because y'all did all that because I parked illegally. Y'all should have just ticketed me. And I wasn't, as aware of my rights back then as I am now. But the simple fact is, y'all snatched me out, humiliated me, searched my car while all these people are watching. All these people were watching. Hundreds of people watching. And, it was a lot of white people out. And they were horrified by it.
Course.
The fact that some of these people were horrified by what they were seeing by other white officers. My car getting searched, they tossing my shit, and it's just like,
it's like a prime example of like the times. You know what I'm saying?
So the glass can come and go. So if y'all wondering why black people have issues with the police, it's reasons like this, because we are snatched out our cars sometime by our own people, by other black officers, and we are just victimized, we brutalized. And it's like, the simple fact is, when it happens over and over, and then when you continue to watch it happen, and it's like nothing you could really do about it but say fuck the police or some shit like that, it's gonna really piss you off, because it's like, that's where that hatred grows to where it's at. And then we say fuck the police. Right. So it's not like we just saying fuck the police because it's a fun thing to say. Right. No, we seen so much shit get done to our people, and that people just seem like they just don't want to understand. How do you expect us to just simply comply when our rights are being violated?
You know what that makes me think of? I don't know why it makes me think of this. Rodney King.
Yeah.
So Rodney King gets it beat up to a pulp, almost killed. Riots break out. The whole city is under fire now.
Yeah.
Rodney King is in a coma. When he wakes up, what does he say? Can't we all just get along? That's his response. And that's really what it comes down to. It's like that's all we're trying to do is like get along.
And it's so hard though. Like I ain't even gonna front. Some days it'd be like, yo, it was for a minute. I'm like, yo, I'm starting to really hate white people, because a lot of the people that were saying some of the most hateful shit, Like, especially when it's something positive. Like, you could go on Facebook right now, go on like the Channel 4 website or the Channel 4 Facebook page. You know, now you can react to shit on Facebook. So like, you see like the most like India Walton. Some of the most hateful comments came from white people. You know, people that. I really want to know what they said, but tell me. So just like, you know, this city's about to burn and all this like stupid shit like that. And it's like she hasn't even gotten a chance to fuck up before y'all saying that she about to fuck up.
Let me say something real quick. I already said this before. If you're following me, you probably heard me say this before. But I'm gonna say it again. Hold on 1 second.
That's better.
India Walton just got elected. She's about to be mayor. I don't care what the fuck Carl Paladino or Byron Brown got planned up received. India Walton is going to be mayor of Buffalo. That's done. Accept it. I'm sorry. Accept it. Now hear me out, Buffalo. You didn't vote for her. You don't support her. You have every right to say that, right?
Yeah.
But hear me out. If India Walton fails, you fail. If the economy crashes, you crash. You have every stake in India Walton as anyone else does right now. Because she is the mayor of your city.
The mayor.
So if the city fails because of India Walton, you fail.
And then, like
so if you don't get behind your own mayor, you're not behind your own city. Period. So it doesn't matter what your political beliefs are. You want her to succeed because you want your city to succeed. If you think otherwise, that means you don't like your city.
And the thing about that is like, yo, I wanted India to win for the simple fact that I was just sick and tired of Byron Brown. Yeah, he's done some good things, but it's like he's making the city, you know, more to be gentrified within the next 20 years. You know, gentrification is coming to Buffalo. We all know that. It's no secret. So it's just a simple fact is like, I would rather have a gentrified city that I could live in to where it's more affordable, and I can't even say gentrified, just better, period. Better housing. You know, the east side is like shit. Like, you grew up on the east side at one point. I grew up on the east side my whole life.
Right.
And it's just a simple fact that she's somebody that's, I feel, is going to do the right thing for the east side of Buffalo. This shit, we want to look like North Buffalo. We want to look like the west side. The west side is coming up.
North Buffalo, I love North Buffalo because it's a prime example of everybody getting together and believing in a oneness. Yeah. You go to North Buffalo, you go to Hurdle, you got Italians, you got blacks, you got Irish, you got everybody hanging out, it's like, that's what we want Buffalo to be. Right?
Of course. We want Buffalo to be, you know, something where all cultures get together and just like, you know, live. We want to be able to, like, you know, I don't have no problem with white people. I don't have no problem with Puerto Ricans, Chinese. I don't have a problem with nobody. I have a problem with those people that don't want to see nobody succeed. That's still living in the fucking past. And I think that's the problem with Buffalo as a whole. A lot of people are still living in the past.
Or they try to lump everybody together into one thing. Like, if you're this color or if you're this particular person, you represent this person. No. Everybody is an individual.
We represent the city of Buffalo, and the thing about it, you know, and it's a lot of good people in Buffalo. It's so many good people in Buffalo, but it's so many hateful people also. And it's just the simple fact that when you think about it, it's like, yo, it doesn't have to be like this. And it brings me back to the same thing I've been saying since this podcast started, is that sometime if you just simply sit down with someone and just have a conversation with them, you may find, in fact, that you have more in common with them than you ever could imagine. And that's just a simple fact about it.
That's just being human.
Like me and
we're all human. We all have our worldviews based on our life experiences. Sit down and talk to people, and you'll understand that we have more in common than we have different.
Yeah, like me and Neil, like, we took a chance on each other. We didn't know where this was gonna go, but you know, he liked what I had to say. You know, I started listening to what his podcasts were about, and we actually did one, and it just fucking gelled. It was just, you know, the greatest experience. Yeah, and it's just like, you know, this is my guy right now. Like, you know, Neil's.
Would you say we're podcast
soulmates?
Soulmates, yeah.
My podcast and soulmate, because we create some heat.
Said that, and I said yes.
Like, we create some heat together because we both believe, like, you know, no matter what color you are, no matter where your background or nothing like that, you can always find something in common with people. Like, some of us came up rougher than others, and it's just like.
And you changed me for the better. You did. You changed me for the better.
And same here. and it's definitely something that, you know, we both a lot more open-minded about stuff. And, you know, like I said, with Miles Carter, I wasn't the biggest fan of Miles Carter until I actually had the podcast with him.
That was a great podcast.
Yeah, and I was never against Miles, but, you know.
That's how I met you.
Yeah.
I did a podcast with Miles, and then you did a podcast with Miles right after me.
Yeah.
And I listened to your shit with Miles, and I was like, I'm going to get this guy on, dude. I like this guy.
Yeah.
And we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, and it's all love. And the thing with Miles is like...
Miles got us two together, yo. Miles is the man.
Shout out to Miles Carter.
Yo, I fucking love Miles Carter, dude.
But like I say, Miles...
That dude, he means the world,
much.
Dude.
Yeah,
He's such a good dude.
He didn't, like, you know, he didn't win the primaries, but
did you see how he accepted? He accepted his defeat. Like, okay, I'm still going. He's still doing the same shit he was doing when he was campaigning. That's how you know he's authentic. He really means what he's talking about. Because he lost, but he's still going. And you're not taking him away.
I sat down with Miles. The thing that tripped me out to where, like, yo, I could possibly do, when he came to my house to do the podcast, we had all 5 of his kids.
He did the same thing to me. He brought 2 kids with him. Because because he's the type of person he can multitask, he can figure out things, he can be a parent and a leader at the same time.
Yeah.
But we're running out of battery. Battery ran out. Okay, we gotta close this out. It's alright. We got the volume right here, so I'm just gonna switch it up. Ready?
Switching it up.
So yeah, we just ran out of. As you can see, we're here doing a off the cusp podcast. We ran out of volume, or ran out of battery. This is all of it. Yeah, the whole thing's there. Closing out though.
So yeah, we were talking about Miles, man. Like I said, he brought all 5 of his kids. Like I sat them down in my living room and had on Netflix for him, and it was just like, you know, and just talking to him and seeing like some of the shit that he's been through. And it's like he was making grown man decisions at like 14 years old. And it's just like, this is why when people see, oh, he has no law enforcement experience and all that shit. This is why, like, for him, it's just a simple fact. Like, listen to his story. He has the experience. This man been making grown man decisions since he was 14 years old. Right? People don't want to listen to that. People just want to hear, does he have law enforcement experience? Or what is it? To be Erie County Sheriff, you just need to be 18 years old and live in Erie County.
That's it.
That's the only fucking experience that you fucking need. You really don't need experience. So why not put somebody in there that, you know, are like really for the people, that really are about human decency.
Right.
That's what the fucking takes.
Yeah, so listen, stay in touch. Are we doing one tomorrow or Thursday? So yeah, a couple days from now, me and NerdBoy are gonna do another one. And
all right. Well, yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned, guys, because this is not over yet. We're still gonna talk about this stuff. This is big issues right now. The city of Buffalo is getting changed for the better. And it's all happening right now. And stay tuned.
Yes, sir. Neil Sinlack with the Nickel City Chronicles. NerdBoyD with the NerdBoyz Podcast. Neil Sinlack, NerdBoyD. We out.